welcome to my channel. My name is Ren and I make videos a couple of times a week about books and pop culture, and today we're going to be discussing the first 2 episodes of the brand new Percy Jackson TV show that aired on Disney Plus last Wednesday. If you have followed me for any amount of time on the internet, you will know Percy Jackson is my absolute fave. Percy's world and stories mean so much to me. My first ever tattoo was actually this one from the Lightning Thief musical, which was the adaptation we deserved until the TV show came along. The musical was phenomenal. I loved every moment of it. And I was so excited for the TV show because the story really deserves a well fleshed out story made by people that genuinely really care about it. And obviously the TV show Rick Riordan was really involved with, and I was just so looking forward to seeing it. So the first 2 episodes aired last Wednesday. I'm filming this on Friday, so it's been a couple of days. I've rewatched a couple of times, and we've got a little review of my initial thoughts, and then I'm going to try and do this weekly for every episode that airs. So episode 1 was called I Accidentally Vaporized My Pre-Algebra Teacher, and I loved that they kept the episode titles as the same, like, funny chapter titles, because that's such a key part of the book. Like, any Percy book has those ridiculously titled chapters, which just really shows a lot of Percy's humour, and I loved that they kept that in for the episode title. I also feel like the way it started was just so good. We got obviously the iconic line, the "look, I didn't want to be a half-blood," which was the only correct way that show could start. But I also really love that we got to see a younger Percy as well, and we got to see the things that he's been experiencing from the very get-go. I think that the casting of younger Percy and Walker was phenomenal. Like, they look the same. But I really liked the way that we got to see what younger Percy was experiencing. Younger Percy and then old, like, Percy now, they have this really good expression which I can't like properly explain, but it's like you can see that they're trying to process everything that's happening, and it's done so well at the different ages. You can really see that he's thinking, but I know what I'm seeing is real, but how can it be real because of what it is? And I liked that we got to kind of see that little insight into his mind and how he's perceiving the world around him, which was really good. I liked that little input, and I liked that we got to see sort of what Percy's experiences have been leading up to where we've met Percy now, which I just thought was really good, and allowed us to see a lot of kind of how Percy sees the world from the get-go. Obviously we had the Percy and Grover little montage where he says about finding Grover and him being friends, and I was like, it was so cute. Like, it was so sweet. I feel like as obviously the books go on, there's a lot of focus on Percy and Annabeth and their friendship, and then ultimately their relationship is lovely and wonderful, and I am a Percabeth stan before I am anything else in this world. I feel like the Percy and Grover's friendship is so overlooked sometimes, and I just really liked that we got to see that kind of introduction, see their friendship and how it was evolving, and then when Grover kind of said no, Percy did hurt Nancy, that was so hard to watch, even knowing why he'd done it. That was really difficult because we kind of had this setup and we saw such a lovely friendship between them. I also really liked with Mr. Brunner at the Met where he gave Percy the pen, I gave him Riptide, and I thought it was really cool because a teacher saying about a pen being a powerful weapon kind of seems very teachery. Like, I could see a teacher saying that because obviously a pen used to write and words are powerful, words hold power, and I thought that was really good, whilst also being the double meaning of it's also a sword. It's literally a powerful weapon. So I really liked that. I also liked that we got to see of Percy and his mum flashback, and the whole conversation about how people that look like heroes aren't always heroes, and people that look like monsters aren't always monsters. And I just really liked that, and you can really see from that interaction that Percy really values the stories his mum told him and how she told them, and they've really stayed with him, and it was able to help him with obviously his assignment, which on the sheet, you know, it's clearly very special to him, and his mum is very clearly special to him. The rest of the Met scene I feel like was a little bit fast paced. There were a couple of bits in the show where I felt like the pacing like they needed to put something in, and it was like a little fast. So obviously we didn't see a lot of Mrs. Dodds. We didn't see a lot of what she was doing, and we sort of it happening so in front of everyone. And I think that's something that they've changed, is how powerful the mist is, because obviously in the books Grover walks with a limp because he has goat legs, and it's kind of everyone just thinks that he has a limp, but in this he doesn't walk with a limp, and the mist shows human legs. So obviously Grover says about how powerful the mist is, and that it was even more powerful, and he couldn't even see really a lot of what Mrs. Dodds was doing. So I'm not sure why they've changed like how strong the mist is, because it's not always been like that strong. So I feel like the Mrs. Dodds thing was quite fast. Like I feel like it kind of, you blink and you miss it kind of situation. So I feel like that could have been fleshed out a little bit more, just because obviously it's that first scene. Percy's expulsion, obviously the bit with Grover, I understand why they added that, because it was trying to get him out, but I missed the bit where they kind of travelled back together and Percy ditches Grover that way. They did very much change how Percy gets home and how him and Grover kind of end things at Yancey. Obviously we then see Sally, who, do you know what, listening to Olivia Rodrigo while sitting out in the rain, mood. I am Sally Jackson, Sally Jackson is me. Aren't we all Sally Jackson at some point in our lives? I love her. I love the scenes with her and Percy. There's these really small moments, and there was some in the cabin as well that was so like soft and small, and just really kind of highlighted what their relationship's like. And I just loved it. Like Walker was able to portray those scenes so well, whilst also the more intense scenes so well as well. Like it was just done phenomenally, and their relationship felt so authentic and so real, and I loved it. Gabe is really funny, because I don't want Gabe to be awful. I don't want Sally to experience awful things around Gabe. But he seemed like so chill. He just seemed like a sort of like a little annoying stepdad. And currently none of his behaviour warrants being turned to stone. And I'm like, Gabe doesn't feel very much like Gabe. Like, I'm not complaining because I don't want them to suffer, but I wonder if they'll still go down the end route where Sally does turn him into a statue. Like, I'm interested to see if they'll do that, because they portray him differently in the TV show than he is portrayed in the books. And they don't mention about the fact that he's really smelly either. Like, that's a huge thing, that he stinks, and that's why Sally married him. That's not mentioned. Like, but that's a key part, that his scent masked Percy's. So yeah, I'm interested to see if like they've just kind of changed the dynamic of that a little bit. I really liked the bit in the cabin, again, the really small moments, and Sally telling Percy about his history, and Percy being so like, no, like just being so, because I feel like that's how you would feel if you've gone your whole life seeing these things and struggling and not knowing why, and then someone telling you something. It was so funny when he was like, you fell in love with a god, like Jesus. You could see that he was kind of in disbelief as well, and he didn't want to believe what was happening, because it's such a far-fetched thing, and he just thinks that his mum's trying to reassure him by telling him these stories. The whole bit with Grover and them in the car when she's like, hold on boys, and he's like, I'm actually 24. Percy's facial expressions in those scenes were just so funny. It was just such Percy. Like, Walker embodies him so well, and it was such a brilliant Grover and Percy dynamic. Like, I loved watching it so much. It was so good. The first episode, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good introduction to these characters and these stories. Casting is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think there's a casting choice that I have a problem with so far. Like, everyone feels like the characters. Everyone feels like how I imagine them. Like, it's so good. Like, it's so well done. Then the second episode is called I Become Supreme Lord of the Bathroom. I believe that's it. I might be paraphrasing a little bit. This episode was my favourite out of the two, because it was really where we got to see so much of Camp Half-Blood. Camp Half-Blood is exactly how I imagined it. The way that it's laid out, like, even the boundary, like when they look up and you see it, was just exactly how I imagined. The cabins are how I imagined. the like amphitheater, like how everything is exactly how it existed in my head. And obviously Rick had so much involvement that I can understand why that's the case, because the descriptions are going to be pretty accurate. But it genuinely felt so like it felt like it felt real, and I really liked that. I liked that Annabeth's first line was "usual when you sleep," and I also really like her dynamic in this, because we get to see how she is observing things and how she's perceiving Percy, and that's scattered throughout the episode. And Leah Jeffries did it so well when he asked her if she's stalking him, and she's like yes, and she's like very honest and brutally honest, and like, because she doesn't fully interact with people her age quite a lot, you know. A lot of people around Annabeth are older than the people that she talks to, so she's kind of figuring out how to interact with someone her age, and he intrigues her as she knows that something big is happening. She has all of these theories, and I feel like the way that Leah portrayed that was so good, and you could see how Annabeth was feeling and what she was thinking, and she was being cryptic in some ways, but you could still see the thought processes. That was really good. And I like that we get to see that she then ultimately, because of that, intrigues Percy, and you see the start of their dynamic. I love Luke. And I hate that I love Luke. I was like, no, we're just not going to do it. But he's being so good. And Percy, like, when he does the offering to his mum, which I love that he did the offering to his mum rather than like the gods, like, yes. And he said about making friends, he's talking about Luke, and I'm just like, oh, it's okay. I didn't want to like Luke. I really like Luke. And I'm so mad at myself for the fact that I genuinely am really enjoying his character, and I love how he was talking about Annabeth, which hurts even more, and just kind of the whole thing. And you can tell that he really does care about her, despite everything that is gonna happen. Sorry if you've not read the books, by the way. Yeah, Clarice was also really good, and the way that she was and her attitude towards Percy, and seeing her scream when the spear broke was heart-wrenching. Just seeing her want to prove herself to her dad despite the way that her dad is with her was so heartbreaking, and I really do feel for Clarice in so many ways. The whole capture this flag thing was so good, and I liked seeing Percy kind of figure out what he was good at, and his kind of sarcasm and attitude towards the fact that he knew he wasn't going to be very good at it. I liked the way that was all done, and kind of how much was able to fit in this episode, but without it feeling really kind of packed in. I liked that we got to see parts of Grover's story and seeing the Cloven Council. I feel like the way that he told Percy at the end about Sally being alive was very fast. It was him kind of running in and saying it. That kind of the delivery of that, it was the way it was written and directed, kind of like, I feel like that could have been a little bit more, the way he spoke to Percy could have been a little bit more fleshed out. I liked that we got to see that Percy's like that scene where he says about being Poseidon's son, and Percy says, I am Sally Jackson's son, and you see that he's going on that quest for Sally, not for Poseidon. He is so done with trying to prove himself to Poseidon, who just hasn't been there. Like, you can see on his face he wants to help the parent who was his parent. I am Sally Jackson's son was my favourite line in episode 2. It was so good. It was so Percy. The way that Walker delivered it was absolutely phenomenal, and I loved it so much. I also loved the way Grover just wants to protect him, and that even though he was his protector and he wants to be able to do that, he does also see Percy as his friend. I liked the way that was done, and I liked the way that you could just see all over his face how protective he was of Percy, and how he was just like, he is my friend too. Also, the start of the episode, Mr. D pretending to be Percy's dad, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. That is the one and only time Percy is ever going to be respectful to any god. Like, the second he found out that he was lying, that was it. Percy's respect for any of them was just gone. And I liked that you could see kind of throughout, he wanted to prove something to Poseidon, and then when he found out Poseidon only claimed him because he wanted something back, then he was like, no. And I liked that he was able to kind of understand that the gods are not reliable. It was just so good. Like, the introduction to Camp Half-Blood and the introduction to these characters, it was done so well, and it didn't feel like an onslaught of information. You know, you felt like you were learning along with Percy, and I really, really, really liked it. I'm so excited for episode 3. I'm so excited to see where this series goes and how they take the story and what they've done with the story. I'm genuinely so excited. I would love to know your thoughts on the first 2 episodes of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show. Let me know in the comments and we can have a discussion. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, if you're new here, I make videos a couple of times a week about books and pop culture, so if you want to stick around and join us, feel free to hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell. And as usual, all the links to my other social medias will be in the description as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're doing really well, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.